Okay, so what's up guys? I'm back for another video at ngayon po pag-usapan natin yung confidential funds kasi alam naman po natin 'di ba na yung congressional hearings regarding it nag-conclude na po. So syempre tayo hindi rin po tayo magpapahuli, magbibigay rin po ako ng closing remarks ko na video. So ngayon po i-discuss ko in detail kung ano nga ba talaga ang confidential funds, parehas ba to sa intelligence funds at i-discuss ko rin po yung mga legal issues between the Office of the Vice President and the House of Representatives. Okay, so ang una-una pong question na sasagutin natin is kung parehas nga ba ang confidential fund at intelligence fund. At ang nakalagay po sa Joint Circular 2015-01 ng Commission on Audit ay magkaiba po yan sila. They are defined differently po. So ang confidential fund as provided in said circular po is defined as the sum of money which is used for confidential expenses. Okay? At yung confidential expenses po nakaspecify po yan specifically in the said Joint Circular. Okay? So ang examples po niyan is yung mga ginagamit to acquire information, yung pagbayad sa mga informant, yung mga pag-rent ng transportation, safe houses to be used for confidential matters. So, kung gusto nyo po malaman yung more details about it, i-check nyo na lang po yung Joint Circular. Naka-detail naman po talaga kung ano yung isa-isa na confidential expense. Okay? Ngayon, punta naman po tayo sa Intelligence Fund. Ang Intelligence Fund po is specifically defined as the fund that is used for counterintelligence or intelligence purposes. So, ito po yung ginagamit para magkaroon po ng mga report when it involves national security and peace and order. Okay, at ang next question naman natin ngayon is kung entitled ba talaga ang Office of the Vice President sa Confidential and Intelligence Fund. At ang sagot po dyan is entitled po yung OVP. Kasi dun po sa Joint Circular ng COA, nakaspecify naman po dun na a national government agency like that of the Office of the Vice President is entitled to a confidential and/or intelligence fund provided po merong budget na inallocate ang General Appropriations Act or any other law. At yung isa pa pong misconception na nakikita ko po lately sa social media is that hindi daw entitled yung Office of the Vice President ng Confidential at Intelligence Fund kasi daw hindi naman daw sila involved sa national security or peace and order yung OVP or yung DepEd nung Education Secretary pa si Vice President Sara Duterte. So kung titingnan nyo po dyan sa Joint Circular, wala namang specifically nakalagay na yung Confidential and Intelligence Funds is only to be provided to government agencies that is directly performing peace and order or national security functions. Ang nakalagay lang po dyan sa Joint Circular is that a national government agency is entitled po to confidential and/or intelligence funds provided may budget allocation dun sa GAA or sa General Appropriations Act or under any other law. So as long as meron pong budget na nilagay dun, in-approve yun ng Congress na may budget for confidential intelligence funds sa isang national government agency like that of the OVP, qualified na po yun or entitled po talaga sila makatanggap ng confidential and/or intelligence funds. And i-clarify ko na lang din po pala kasi yun nga magkaiba yung confidential and/or intelligence funds, diba? Ang intelligence funds under the Joint Circular of COA, nakalagay po doon is that it must be carried out by uniformed or military personnel. So kung titingnan po natin yung wordings ng batas doon, ang sinabi lang naman carried out. Therefore po, as long as nanggaling yung pondo sa isang national government agency tas pina-carry out niya yung functions dun sa military or sa uniform personnel, then that is already sufficient compliance po with the Joint Circular ng Commission on Audit. Okay, so ang next question naman pong sasagutin natin is kung kailangan ba talaga may liquidation and reporting na ginagawa regarding confidential and intelligence funds. Okay? So dun po sa Joint Circular, klaro po yun, kailangan po talaga may liquidation at merong quarterly report. At ngayon naman po, punta tayo sa next question. Kailangan ba i-divulge or ipaalam sa publiko kung ano yung laman ng report at ng mga liquidation receipts dun sa confidential and intelligence fund? So ang nakalagay po dyan sa Joint Circular is that the reports for confidential and intelligence funds is labeled as confidential. May sinite po dyan ng mga specific na laws din yung Joint Circular regarding the confidentiality. So ang ibig sabihin ko po dito, since the Joint Circular states that the reporting is labeled as confidential, therefore hindi po talaga dapat ipaalam yan sa public. Because confidential matters po are those matters which affect peace and order and national security. So pag ipaalam mo po yan sa public, magkakaroon po talaga ng security risk na lalabas yung mga secret na ginagawa ng government regarding intelligence and confidential matters. Okay, so hopefully klaro yun guys. Ngayon punta naman po tayo dun sa mga nangyaring legal issues between the Office of the Vice President and the House of Representatives. Okay, so ang nangyari nangyari po kasi dito, yung House of Representatives, as we all know, conducted a legislative inquiry in aid of legislation to investigate the confidential funds and intelligence funds, kung saan po yung pinatawag nila is yung Office of the Vice President and some of the staff po of the Department of Education. So dahil dun, since they were already touching on the liquidation reports of the confidential funds of the OVP and of DepEd, yung OVP po dito, sumulat sila ngayon dun sa COA, diba, para hindi i-release yung documents. And they argued that since there was already an ongoing Supreme Court case filed, and of course since the COA is an independent body, therefore dapat hindi i-release ng COA ang records sa Congress. Whereas naman po yung House of Representatives, yung main argument naman nila is they are not conducting daw an auditing, but rather they are only performing their constitutional function of legislative inquiry in aid of legislation. So yun po yung facts na nangyari dito sa discussion natin. Okay, ngayon punta po tayo sa question na kung tama ba yung ginawa ng OVP at kung tama rin ba yung ginawa ng House of Representatives. So unahin ko po muna yung side ng OVP. For the OVP po, hindi ko masabi kung tama ba yung ginawa nila because before you can file po kasi a Rule 65 petition or yung judicial review, power of judicial review ng Supreme Court, one of the requirements po kasi niyan is that there be no other plain, speedy, or adequate remedy. Diba? In short, wala ka nang pwede gawin. Therefore, ang gagawin mo lang talaga, mag-Rule 65 petition ka sa Supreme Court. So, kaya ko po sinabi to kasi baka yung lawyer ng OVP, tingin nila yung pagsulat nila sa COA is that's their best or that's their plain, speedy, and adequate remedy. Kaya siguro hindi sila nag-Rule 65 petition. And yung next question po natin dyan, ito po for educational and discussion purposes lang ha. Kung ako po yung naging lawyer ng OVP, ganun din po ba gagawin ko? Susulat ba ako sa Commission on Audit? Ang gagawin ko po is iba. Hindi po ako susulat sa Commission on Audit. And the reason being po is kasi ang mangyayari po kasi pag sumulat ako sa Commission on Audit requesting them to not release yung mga liquidation at yung mga reports na sinabmit ng OVP at ng DepEd, from how I see it po, that is an encroachment of the separation of powers under the Constitution. Because we have to remember, the Commission on Audit is an independent constitutional commission, diba, who conducts auditing functions. Meaning, since independent po siya, hindi po siya pwede diktahan ng executive, ng legislative, or ng judiciary. Yung dating po kasi nun, pagsusulatan natin yung Commission on Audit para po kasing tinuturuan natin sila kung ano dapat yung trabaho nila, which is, kung ako po tatanungin, hindi po dapat ganun because that is an encroachment on the separation of powers under the Constitution. So kung ako po, ang gagawin ko po dito is hindi na po ako susulat dapat sa COA. Diretso na po ako sa Supreme Court and I will file most likely a petition for prohibition against the Commission on Audit and against the House of Representatives. So una-una po against the Commission on Audit, yung maging argument ko po dito is that if i-release nila yung records, yung liquidation reports at ibigay nila yun sa Congress, that is also a violation of the separation of the doctrine of separation of powers. Kasi kung titingnan nyo po, pag nirelease ng Commission on Audit yung records, ibig sabihin, give up nila yung pagiging independent body nila as the only auditing body in the country as provided for by our Constitution, diba? Kasi if you give that to Congress, ano pa yung purpose ng confidentiality nga yung mga records ng confidential funds and intelligence funds? Plus dapat, kung titingnan po natin, ang trabaho ng Commission on Audit is sila talaga yung mag-audit at mag-verify ng legitimacy ng reports, diba? So pag ibigay mo yan dun sa Congress, yun nga, it is as if that they have surrendered their being an independent body in relation po to their function as the sole auditing body under the Constitution. At ngayon punta naman po tayo sa House of Representatives. Yung magiging argument ko po against the House of Representatives is parehas lang din po against the Commission on Audit. There will also be a violation of the separation of powers under the Constitution because if the House of Representatives will be allowed to request certain letters, certain reports from the Commission on Audit, it is also as if that they are stepping into the auditing functions of the Commission on Audit. Kasi yun nga po, the Commission on Audit is an independent constitutional commission specifically created to audit. Therefore, pag i-request yun ng House, it is also as if that they are going to step in to the auditing functions of the Commission on Audit. And of course, alam ko naman na yung argument dito ng House of Representatives is that they are not performing an audit, rather they are performing a legislative inquiry in aid of legislation. However po, kung titingnan natin yung mga hearings na naganap sa Congress, kung ako po tatanungin na for educational purposes, for discussion purposes lang po to, ang tingin ko po talaga is that the House of Representatives po encroached on the auditing functions. Because number one, when they asked for the receipts, they were already reviewing how the money was spent in relation to said receipts. Eh ano po ba tawag doon? That is already an auditing function, di ba? Kasi pinapagbangga na po nila yung resibo in relation to the actual money spent eh. Plus aside from that, they also started started reviewing po yung genuineness and yung authenticity ng mga receipts, diba? Kaya nga lumabas yung mga meme na Mary Grace Piatos. If you take into consideration everything that the House of Representatives did, kung ako po, sa tingin ko po, that is already performing an auditing function in a sense. At idagdag ko na lang din po pala, meron din po kasi tayong legal principle na nagsasabi na what you cannot do directly, you cannot do indirectly. So now, if we apply it to what the House of Representatives did, unang-una, they cannot directly do an auditing function because that is nga the sole power that is provided by the Constitution to the Commission on Audit. So ano po ginawa ng HOR? From how I see it po, they indirectly did an auditing function under the guise po of a legislative inquiry in aid of legislation. So yan po yung one of magiging main arguments ko against the House of Representatives. And that is actually the reason po kung napansin ninyo dun sa Attorney Zulaika Lopez in Congress video ko, kaya ako minention at in-emphasize dun na excited din ako talaga at very interested ako sa case na to na umabot talaga sa Supreme Court. Because the legal principle that I mentioned, wala pa pong case na ganun kung saan dalawang constitutional provisions po yung nagbanggaan. As far as I know po, the current jurisprudence that we have is one involving po a presidential decree versus a constitutional provision. So dun, syempre, since lamang yung Constitution, dineclare ng Supreme Court as unconstitutional yung presidential decree. Okay? So pag dito, ang magiging issue kasi is that magbabanggaan yung oversight function or yung power to conduct legislative inquiries in aid of legislation ng Congress in relation to the auditing functions of COA. So kung meron sanang nag-file talaga ng case nito, may kita po sana natin kung hanggang saan talaga yung limitations nung oversight at legislative inquiry in aid of legislation function ng House of Representatives, or kung hindi ba magiging mako-consider na ba yun siya as yun nga, doing something indirectly what they cannot do legally directly, 'di ba? Pero yun nga po, ang alam ko po walang nag-file dito ng case yung Office of the Vice President did not file a case to the Supreme Court. So sayang, hindi natin malalaman kung hanggang ano talaga yung extent ng oversight at legislative inquiry functions in relation to the legal principle that I mentioned. So ngayon punta naman po tayo sa House of Representatives. Kung kunwari ako po yung lawyer ng HOR. So for discussion purposes po, for academic purposes, ang magiging argument ko lang po is yun nga po, parehas lang din sa ginagamit ng House of Representatives na they are conducting an legislative inquiry in aid of legislation and not an auditing function. Yun lang po yun, very straightforward argument at defense lang po yung gagamitin ko if I was a lawyer for the HOR. So in conclusion, yan, ano ko na lang din po na personally ako po nasayangan ako na wala talagang nag-file sa sa Supreme Court ng case, because yun nga, if this was filed, this would have been a very interesting constitutional issue kung saan may kita natin yung extent talaga ng legislative inquiry functions ng House of Representatives. And to be honest po, akala ko this whole time magfa-file po yung Office of the Vice President kasi meron naman pong buong legal department yung OVP, diba? So meron silang means talaga actually to question the constitutionality of the actions of the House of Representatives. Pero as far as I know, wala pong nag-file at alam naman po natin ngayon na conclude na yung hearings, therefore wala nang actual controversy involved. And as a matter of fact, may nabasa po akong article kanina, nag-file na nga ng House bill yung Congress regarding confidential funds. So sayang po, sana may naka-file. And in case lang po na maulit yung ganitong situation, pwede actually na maski regular citizen ang mag-under the taxpayer suit po, pwede naman tayo mag-file niyan. So magiging argument lang po natin dyan if we will file as a taxpayer is that yung nangyari, there is a double, kung ako po, ang maging argument ko po is that there is a double auditing na nagaganap, therefore there is a wastage of taxpayer funds. So we are going now to court to clarify, to ask for clarification from the Supreme Court kung up to what extent ba talaga yung oversight function in relation to the review of the budget, specifically dun sa confidential funds issue na tinakel nitong mga congressional hearings. At alam ko yung may magko-comment dyan na bakit hindi na lang ako nag-file kung alam ko naman pala yung taxpayer suit. So ulitin ko po akala ko po talaga yung Office of the Vice President magfa-file. I will be completely honest with everyone. Kasi yun nga, they have a whole legal department. They were harassed all throughout. So syempre, dapat mag-file talaga sila. They should go to the proper venue to address their grievances or their issues. So I personally believe talaga na magfa-file yung OVP pero hindi sila nag-file, natapos sila yung hearings. But anyway, yan po yung bantayan natin sa mga next ganito. Ito, first time ko pa lang naman na ginagawa tong mga ganitong types of videos na nag-involve po ako to current events with these legal educational videos. So most likely po in the future, I guarantee you all po na nanonood, pag may ganito ulit na issue tapos walang mag-file, unahan na po natin. Basta sama po kayo sa akin as petitioner para hindi naman ako malungkot na ako lang yung pumirma dun sa pleading. Okay? So hopefully klaro po yan. And if you want more legal educational videos po to current events, follow and subscribe lang po kayo sa akin. And until next time, see you all po. Bye-bye!